In a stirring address on the presidency's true nature, former President Barack Obama reminded Americans that this office is far more than a stage for theatrics or a vehicle for personal acclaim. He opened by underscoring that the nation's highest role demands clear judgment, disciplined thought, and an unwavering commitment to the public good. With over 300 million lives and the world's attention at stake. He posed a question that many citizens quietly ask, yet seldom voice aloud. Can we entrust the nation's ultimate authority to a leader whose approach appears impulsive, erratic, and self-absorbed? To illustrate the distinctive character of effective governance, Obama drew a sharp line between leadership and performance art. Whereas a reality show thrives on chaos and spectacle, the Oval Office requires steady intellect and moral clarity. A president cannot improvise through history. Instead, they must weigh decisions with purpose and precision. The former commander-in-chief warned that when a leader substitutes thoughtful deliberation with off-the-cuff remarks and applause-seeking asides, the very foundations of national security tremble. Markets react, allies recalibrate, and adversaries seize advantage, not because of policy disputes, but due to a perceived absence of restraint and resolve. At the heart of Obama's argument lies the assertion that true leadership transcends loud proclamations and viral moments. It is born of an ability to discern when to speak and when to listen, to ponder complex facts before responding. Leadership is less about dominating headlines and more about understanding the far-reaching consequences of every utterance. When the president veers from subject to subject, untethered by coherence, the nation suffers. Distraction becomes the default. And public confidence erodes as citizens wonder if the officeholder grasps the gravity of nuclear codes or the ripple effects of diplomatic missteps. The report then delved into how ego-driven conduct jeopardizes democratic stability. Behavior once deemed unthinkable, constant insults, dismissal of expert counsel, a preoccupation with cable news ratings, has become normalized, even celebrated. Yet such conduct signals deeper vulnerabilities. A leader who mistakes loudness for leadership or chaos for strength is not reinforcing democracy. They are corroding it. The world stands vigilant. Any sign that the US presidency operates on impulse rather than principle can trigger global uncertainty. As rivals test the limits of American resolve, Obama's investigation of these patterns serves as a warning. When truth becomes relative and blame is perpetually externalized, the social contract frays. Citizens cease to demand clarity, assuming confusion is the new norm. Goals shift unpredictably, rules lose meaning, and trust in institutions sinks. This is not partisan rhetoric, but an objective assessment of conduct unbecoming of the office. The presidency is not a spectacle to be exploited for self-validation. It is a solemn duty to be fulfilled for the public's welfare. Turning to historical perspective, Obama highlighted how past crises revealed the indispensable role of accountability. Leaders who accepted responsibility rather than deflecting blame helped the nation navigate wars, economic depressions, and civil upheavals. They did not flinch from hard truths or shy away from blame. They declared, "The buck stops here," and mobilized follow-through. In contrast, a leader consumed by grievances and conspiracy suspicions distracts the public and stalls progress, preferring demolition over construction, because tearing down demands less patience than building consensus. Building on this lesson, the report shifts focus to civic responsibility. Democracy, Obama insisted, is not a spectator sport confined to Election Day. It thrives when individuals register to vote, verify the accuracy of headlines, and engage respectfully with those holding differing views. Genuine patriotism demands not blind loyalty, but critical engagement, knocking on doors, attending town halls, and holding leaders to account. When politics devolves into a team sport mentality, democracy's promise is diminished, for citizens cease to evaluate honesty, competence, or integrity, and instead root for wins and losses like a game. The narrative then examines the foundational role of who maintains composure when crises erupt, and who resists the siren call of shortcuts or populist fury. Looking forward, Obama painted a portrait of a resilient nation. He recounted meetings from urban centers to rural towns, where citizens of all backgrounds still believe in decency, fairness, and truth. Despite entrenched divisions and accelerating noise, This quiet, steady hope persists, a belief that collective effort can bring incremental yet lasting progress. He urged Americans to remember that democracy is a living system. It mirrors our actions and values. Neglect or cynicism allows erosion. Vigilance, deliberation, and participation foster renewal. In closing, the former president issued a clarion call. Americans must choose leadership marked by responsibility, not spectacle. The choice transcends party labels or fleeting popularity. It concerns the soul of the nation and the world it will shape. Every ballot, every conversation, and every act of civic engagement matters. Democracy does not operate on autopilot. It requires active stewardship. As custodians of this republic, citizens carry the weight of history and hold the power to decide whether future chapters reflect their highest ideals. Ultimately, the report affirms that in the contest between noise and principle, steady governance prevails. The stakes, the nation's security, credibility, and moral standing are too high for anything less. When election day arrives, voters will determine not only who occupies the Oval Office, but what kind of nation America will be. One guided by calm deliberation and respect for democratic norms, or one led by impulsive theatrics that erode public trust. The responsibility rests with every American to demand more, to show up, to speak out, and to ensure that leadership remains a duty honored by discipline, intelligence, and unwavering dedication to the common good. Building on that imperative, it is crucial to recognize that the work of democracy extends well beyond casting a single ballot. It encompasses the ongoing vigilance of citizens who monitor the execution of policy, hold office holders accountable to their commitments, and ensure transparency at every level of government. This means engaging with school boards to protect educational integrity, advocating for fair policing practices in city councils, and demanding that federal agencies adhere strictly to ethical standards. Each of these actions, no matter how local or specialized, contributes to the robust health of our republic. Moreover, the future of American leadership hinges on our willingness to cultivate and support candidates who embody the principles we cherish. This involves vetting not only their campaign rhetoric, but their records of public service, their demonstrated capacity for collaboration, and their respect for institutional checks and balances. True leadership emerges from a track record of problem-solving and coalition building, not from a flair for confrontation or a history of sensational pronouncements. When citizens prioritize character and competence over charisma alone, they elevate the standard of public discourse and discourage the demagoguery that thrives on anger and division. Equally important is the role of a free press in safeguarding truth and furnishing the electorate with accurate information. Journalists, pundits, and media outlets must resist the allure of sensationalism that distorts facts for clicks or ratings. Instead, they should commit to in-depth reporting, context-rich analysis, and rigorous fact-checking. Citizens, in turn, bear the responsibility of supporting reputable journalism, subscribing to newspapers, sharing reliable reporting, and critically evaluating sources before accepting or disseminating information. This partnership between a discerning public and a principled press forms the backbone of an informed electorate capable of making sound decisions. In the coming months, as campaigns intensify and debates grow more heated, citizens will face a barrage of competing narratives, some rooted in evidence, others in spin. The decisive factor will be the capacity to distinguish between them, to recognize appeals to fear or resentment, and to reject them in favor of arguments grounded in reality and collective well-being. When voters demand policy proposals accompanied by credible data and implementation plans, and when they insist that candidates explain how they will transcend partisanship to achieve tangible results, they shift the political calculus towards substance over spectacle. Ultimately, the resilience of American democracy rests on a shared conviction. That power is entrusted not to entertain us, but to serve us. It demands leaders who are intellectually curious enough to seek out diverse perspectives, emotionally mature enough to absorb criticism without retribution, and morally anchored enough to acknowledge mistakes and learn from them. It calls for citizens who are neither passive observers nor cynical skeptics, but active participants in the ongoing experiment of self-government. As this election cycle unfolds, let us remember that our choices determine not only the next administration, but the enduring health of our democratic institutions. The challenge before us is formidable, but history provides a guide. Progress arises when ordinary people decide to engage, to speak truth to power, and to insist on accountability. In choosing leaders worthy of our trust, those who exhibit the steadiness of purpose, clarity of thought, and humility of spirit that this office demands, we affirm the promise of our democracy. We declare that noise will not drown out reason, that division will not eclipse unity, and that together we will safeguard the nation's future for generations to come.